The light in the darkness. The city stretched endlessly below, a glittering tapestry of lights that seemed to mock the darkness inside Marcus Bennett's corner office. He sat on the cold marble floor, his expensive suit wrinkled, his perfectly styled hair disheveled. In his hands, he clutched a crumpled photograph, the edges worn from too much handling. The office tower was supposed to be empty at this hour. It was well past midnight, and Marcus had chosen this time deliberately. He didn't want anyone to see him like this, the powerful CEO of Bennett Industries reduced to tears, sitting alone in the dark. But he had forgotten about the cleaning crew. Sarah Mitchell pushed her cart down the hallway of the 42nd floor, her yellow rubber gloves squeaking slightly against the handle. She had been working as a cleaning lady for Premium Services for 3 years now, and she knew every corner of this building. She also knew that she wouldn't be working here much longer. The layoff notice had come 2 weeks ago. Budget cuts, they said. 20 cleaning staff let go, effective at the end of the month. Sarah had accepted the news with quiet dignity, even though inside, her heart had shattered into 1,000 pieces. She was a single mother to 7-year-old Emma, and finding another job wouldn't be easy. Still, she showed up every night and did her work with the same care and attention she always had. Her mother had taught her that your character wasn't defined by how you acted when things were good, but by how you carried yourself when everything fell apart. As Sarah approached the CEO's office, she noticed something unusual. The door was slightly ajar, and there was no light coming from inside. She paused, uncertain. She had cleaned this office countless times, but she had never met Mr. Bennett himself. He was always gone by the time her shift started at 10 p.m. Then she heard it, a sound so quiet she almost missed it. A muffled sob, quickly stifled. Sarah's first instinct was to walk away. Whatever was happening in there wasn't her business. But something stopped her. Maybe it was her nature as a mother, always attuned to the sound of pain. Or maybe it was something deeper, a recognition that suffering didn't care about title or tax bracket. She knocked gently on the door. "Hello, is everything all right?" The sobbing stopped immediately. There was a long moment of silence. "Go away," a male voice said, rough with emotion. "The office is closed." Sarah should have listened. She should have moved on to the next office and minded her own business. But she didn't. "I'm just the cleaning lady," she said softly, pushing the door open slightly. "I can come back later if you need privacy, but I wanted to make sure you were okay." In the dim light from the city below, Sarah could make out a figure sitting on the floor. As her eyes adjusted, she realized with shock that it was a man in an expensive suit. Even in the darkness, she could see the quality of the fabric, the gleam of a watch that probably cost more than her car. "I said go away," Marcus repeated, but there was less force in his voice now. More weariness than anger. Sarah set down her cleaning supplies and took a small step inside. "I will," she promised. "But I've been crying in empty rooms myself lately, and I know how lonely it feels. Sometimes it helps just to know another person is there." Marcus looked up at her, and even in the shadows, Sarah could see his face was wet with tears. He seemed startled by her presence, but also too exhausted to maintain his defenses. "You don't understand," he said quietly. "You can't possibly understand." "Maybe not," Sarah agreed, moving to lean against the wall a respectful distance away. "But pain is pain, isn't it? It hurts. The same whether you're wearing a $1,000 suit or a uniform from a discount store." Marcus let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. He looked down at the photograph in his hands, his thumb tracing the faces captured there. "My daughter," he said suddenly, as if the words had been locked inside him for too long. Her name was Lily. She would have been 8 years old today. Sarah's heart clenched. She understood immediately the weight of that single word, would have been. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, and in those 3 words, she poured all the empathy she possessed. Marcus nodded, tears streaming down his face unchecked now. "It's been 2 years. 2 years, and everyone expects me to be over it. To move on. They see me making decisions, running the company, and they think I'm fine. But some nights," his voice broke, "some nights I can't breathe under the weight of missing her." Sarah moved slowly and sat down on the floor, keeping a respectful distance but offering her presence. She didn't speak. She had learned as a mother that sometimes the greatest gift you could give someone was simply to sit with them in their pain. Today was especially hard, Marcus continued, his words coming faster now, as if a dam had broken. "I had to make decisions about layoffs. 20 people losing their jobs because I need to cut costs to satisfy the board. 20 families affected because of my signature on a piece of paper. Sarah felt her breath catch, but she didn't reveal that she was one of those 20 people. This moment wasn't about her. I kept thinking, Marcus said, that Lily would be so disappointed in me. She was always so kind, so concerned about other people. She would cry if she saw an ant get hurt. And here I am, destroying livelihoods with a pen stroke. You're not a bad person for making hard choices, Sarah said gently. Sometimes there are no good options, only less terrible ones. Marcus looked at her with surprise, as if he had forgotten she was there. How can you say that? You don't even know me. No, Sarah agreed, but I know pain when I see it. And I know that someone who feels guilty about their choices still has their humanity intact. They sat in silence for a long moment, two people from completely different worlds, connected by the universal experience of suffering. I lost my husband 3 years ago, Sarah said quietly. Car accident, left me with a 7-year-old daughter and a mountain of medical bills. Some days I wonder if I'm doing right by her, if I'm enough. If he would be proud of the choices I've made. Marcus turned to look at her fully for the first time. In the city lights filtering through the windows, they could finally see each other clearly. I'm sure he would be, Marcus said with surprising certainty. Anyone who sits in the dark with a stranger in their moment of pain is someone with real character. Sarah smiled sadly. Well, I hope Emma thinks so. That's my daughter. She's the reason I keep going on the hard days. What's her name? Marcus asked. Your daughter, Emma. She's 7. Marcus nodded slowly, and something shifted in his expression. Lily would have liked her, I think. She loved making friends. Sarah saw him clutch the photograph tighter. Tell me about her, she said. About Lily. And Marcus did. For the next hour, sitting on the floor of his darkened office, he told stories about his daughter. About her laugh, her curiosity, her gentle heart. He talked about the day she was born, her first steps, her love of butterflies and strawberry ice cream. Sarah listened, occasionally sharing small stories about Emma in return. She told him about Emma's obsession with dinosaurs, her habit of leaving encouraging notes hidden around their small apartment, her dream of becoming a veterinarian. As they talked, something remarkable happened. The weight in the room seemed to lighten. The pain didn't disappear, it never really does, but it became more bearable, distributed between two people instead of crushing one alone. When the sky began to lighten with the first hints of dawn, Marcus finally stood up, his joints stiff from sitting on the floor for so long. He offered Sarah his hand and helped her to her feet. I never asked your name, he said. Sarah Mitchell. Marcus froze. He knew that name. It was on the list. The list of layoffs he had approved. He started, his face going pale even in the dim light. One of the 20, Sarah confirmed gently. But that's okay. You didn't know, and even if you had known, it wouldn't have changed anything about tonight. You needed someone, and I was there. That's all that matters. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. This woman, who he had essentially fired, had sat with him in his darkest moment. She had offered him compassion without expectation, kindness without condition. I need to review those layoffs, he said suddenly, his voice gaining strength. There has to be another way. There has to be, Mr. Bennett, Sarah interrupted, her voice firm but kind. Don't make promises in the middle of an emotional night. Make decisions in the clear light of day, based on what's right for everyone, not just one person who happened to be kind to you. But Marcus was already thinking, his mind racing through possibilities he had dismissed too quickly before. I'm not making promises, he said. I'm making realizations. I've been so focused on pleasing the board, on meeting their numbers, that I forgot the people behind those numbers. He pulled out his phone and made a note, then looked at Sarah seriously. I can't undo everything, but I can look harder for alternatives. I can fight for more time, push back on the timeline, explore options I was too grief-stricken and exhausted to consider before. Sarah smiled, a real smile this time. That's all anyone can ask. To try. Marcus walked to his desk and pulled out a business card. This has my direct number. When you get official word about your employment status, whatever it is, I want you to call me. Not because of tonight, but because I'm going to need people I can trust in this company. People with real character. Sarah took the card, tucking it carefully into her uniform pocket. I should get back to work. My shift ends in an hour, and I've still got 6 offices to clean. Sarah, Marcus called as she reached the door. She turned back. Thank you, for not walking away, for sitting in the dark with a stranger, for reminding me what actually matters. "Thank you for letting me," Sarah replied. "For trusting me with your story. For loving your daughter so deeply that it still hurts. That's not weakness, Mr. Bennett. That's the most powerful kind of strength." As Sarah pushed her cart down the hallway, resuming her work as the city awakened around them, Marcus stood at his window watching the sunrise. He still held Lily's photograph, but somehow the grief felt different now. Still present, still painful, but no longer quite so isolating. He thought about Sarah's words, about making decisions in the light of day. He thought about Emma, a 7-year-old girl who didn't know that her mother's simple act of kindness might have changed both their lives. 3 weeks later, Sarah received a call on the direct number Marcus had given her. The layoffs had been reduced to 5 people through restructuring and timeline adjustments. She wasn't among them, but more than that, she was being offered a new position, Director of Community Relations, working directly with Marcus to develop programs that supported both employees and the community. "I need someone who understands what it's like to struggle," Marcus explained during their first official meeting. "Someone who makes decisions with both head and heart. Someone who would sit in the dark with a stranger because it was the right thing to do." Sarah looked at the job description, then at Marcus, seeing not the powerful CEO but the grieving father who had shared his deepest pain. "I'll do it," she said. "But on one condition." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "That you promise to never forget what you felt that night. The weight of every decision. The people behind the numbers. Because the moment we forget that, we've lost the whole point." Marcus extended his hand, and Sarah shook it firmly. "Deal." As Sarah left his office to begin her new role, Marcus looked once more at the photograph of Lily on his desk, now in a frame instead of crumpled in his hand. He liked to think she would have been proud of this choice. Proud that her father had learned something from his darkness. That sometimes, he thought, we're saved by the people we least expect. Sometimes the light comes from the most unlikely places. And sometimes, the person who seems to need help the most is actually the one offering it. In the end, Sarah Mitchell had found Marcus Bennett crying in the dark. She hadn't known he was the CEO millionaire who had signed her layoff notice. But even if she had known, Marcus realized, she would have stayed anyway. Because that was who she was. And learning that lesson, painful as the path had been, was perhaps the greatest gift Lily had ever given him, the ability to recognize true character when he saw it. Even in the darkness.